Vern, it's like I just saw you.
It's like we were just talking about something that we're going to dig more deep into now.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, again, Bodacious Rant, Shang-Chi Part 2. This is now our spoiler review. So if you haven't seen this movie, do not watch this yet, because this is one I am definitely saying, you watch this without seeing it, I hate you.
Yeah, I mean, go watch the spoiler-free one before you definitely check this one out if you haven't seen the movie yet, because we are going to just dive right into it.
Absolutely. Let's get started. Burden to take off.
As a matter of fact, we are going to start all the way in the beginning, thousands of years ago, actually, with the origin story of Wenwu, the great Khan, what people thought of as the Mandarin. It shows him in his conquering days, where he uses the 10 rings to take down this fortress. Essentially, we get to see them in action for the first time. How cool was that, dude? Like, the 10 rings in the comics were what they sound like. They were just 10 rings, and they all had like different powers and stuff. I much prefer the interpretation that we got in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on the comic, I'm like, the 10 rings thing is pretty stupid. Like, I think it was originally like they were each different powers for the Mandarin to use and stuff, but dude, the physical rings themselves just being like a magical artifact / weapon was fantastic, because Tony Leung and his martial arts skills, it looked beautiful, but just so much combat efficiency in this, where he's just deflecting arrows and everything, and using them as like hooks, and like whipping them around, breaking open a barrier. I was like, holy shit, this guy is scary.
Yeah.
He's just conquering all by himself, and then his army came in. I was like, damn.
It's just like, man, they've got to be probably like the coolest artifacts that we've got in the MCU right now. Now with the Infinity Stones kind of gone, I think these 10 rings are like probably the most powerful objects currently in the universe.
Let me ask you this. What would you rather have, Mjolnir / Stormbreaker or the 10 rings?
Dude, the rings. I gotta have the rings.
So sick.
They're just so versatile, and they're so powerful.
They could easily go up against Thor's weapons, Guardians, everybody's. Like, it was so crazy what you could see them do. Like, him and his son, Shang-Chi, when he gets the rings later in the movie. It was a beautiful, but again, just so destructive and just so powerful.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I want the rings now just to do that. It was very reminiscent of Kung Fu Hustle. Actually, I think that's like another good reference for that.
Yeah, you're right.
Like how in Kung Fu Hustle, anyone who's seen that movie, which was easily one of the best comedic like Kung Fu movies of all time.
Oh, yeah. Check that out if you have not. Do that now. It's so good.
One of the guys in the movie, he's a martial arts master. He has the Iron Fist technique, where he has rings. He's a tailor. He has rings like that hold up his suits and stuff in the shop. He uses those as like defensive / gauntlets essentially.
And
I think
power to his punches and stuff. Really cool.
So very similar, but just with the 10 rings, it was way better. Like, just, oh my god, that whole backstory was really interesting. How he's like a retcon of like Genghis Khan and like Attila the Hun, all these major warrior figures of history, and he was basically all of them in one. He was a one-man army.
Yeah.
So that was really cool to see that.
It was cool to see that, and then to transition to him later on, where he's trying to find this mystical land of Ta Lo, and he comes across what turns out to be Shang-Chi's mom. Like they meet in the forest, and they have this beautiful battle. It's like, reminiscent of, wire work action from like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon and Hero. They're this like meet cute / battle. It was just one of the most romantic fights I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's like she's kicking your ass, yet it's attractive. Like, it's like, oh man, I was thinking in the theater, like, I like her too. Yeah, this is good stuff. Let's see where this goes. Like,
yeah, Fala Chen plays the role really well, and you buy their chemistry immediately. No, not a lot of dialogue is said, but just the looks they're giving at each other when they're both fighting, and it's almost like a dance that they're doing. It's so great.
It was very much a dance of war, essentially, where he's trying to break into Ta Lo, or like basically trying to conquer it as well, and she's just a random villager, just like, no, you're not getting through. Like, good luck trying. Like, if you can't get past me, you're not getting in, dude. That's just it. And it just, she was the only one who could beat him. And even when, you know, he throws the rings at her, she takes control. It's like, oh shit. But I guess the cool thing about the 10 rings is that they didn't necessarily need to be like, once they belong to someone, they didn't belong to them. You know what I mean? They were literally just however you can use it. That's how it was.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wondered if they were like sentient or they just kind of responded to just the world around them. That would be a little bit more interesting to get into because, yeah, she's able to like manipulate them and revert them back. And then, you know, Shang-Chi, you know, later on in the movie is able to do the same thing. So I want to dig into that a little bit more, you know.
Yeah, but that scene where he meets his future wife was great. It was a great scene just to kind of show what they were both capable of and where Shang-Chi came from. Like, you know, two sides of the same coin. One who's just brute force and just viciousness. The other one, elegance, beauty, but precision. It was fantastic.
And then we jump straight into the modern day. You know, Shang-Chi's valet, him and Awkwafina's character Katie. You know, they both work at a hotel. You know, parking cars, and it's just kind of like a really nice little slice of life where, you know, we see him like go pick her up at home, and you have that whole, you know, family dynamic that I'm sure you're used to, where, you know, the older people are always like bagging on the younger people, just like when are you gonna do this thing, like your parents are just like, you have like this degree and you're doing this thing, and of course you're never satisfy your parents. You know, it's just like, I was like, oh man, this is like so relatable, like to a lot of, you know, American born first generation born here in America to like immigrant parents. I thought, I was like, oh man, this is just too much going on here. This hits too close to home.
Absolutely, it did. I just love when they're hanging out with their friends. Another actor from Nora from Queens, where she was her young grandma's best friend back in the day.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're like, oh, yeah, we should get home. Like, and the karaoke scene was hilarious because they're singing Old Town Road. A
Whole New World, too. Yeah, the Magic
Carpet. Yeah, A Whole New World. Just, it's like, oh my god, they're just a bunch of grown children. That's literally what they were.
Just a bunch of slackers.
Parking, yeah, valet parking, karaokeing at night, and just. But then it was just perfect where this movie did a great job of pacing. Like, there were some moments in it to kind of bring us back down from the action and then just throw us right back in. And, you know, just that whole bus scene where Florian Munteanu and his henchmen, who are part of the 10 Rings, they just try and ambush him for his pendant that his mom gave him. It was like, what? Simu Liu can do this? That's crazy.
Yeah, once he like breaks out after like the guy like smashes Awkwafina's head into the inside of the bus window, and then he just like punches the guy and the bass drops. It's like, oh my god, what is happening now? And then just that fight sequence is so good, like one of the best fight sequences I've seen again in a while, and it's just so reminiscent of, you know, Jackie Chan fight sequence where it's very much like a defensive fight style where he's just like dodging and like going around things, using his jacket to like disarm and stuff. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, I was just blown away by that, and just, you know, like how there were some parts he's punched really fast, other times just using somebody else's weight against him. It was just fantastic. And again, Florian was kind of like the mountain in this movie, just because not only is he super tall, but he had his he was Razor Fist, where everybody's like, he has a machete for an arm. Like, it was, oh man, and his action really contributed to that too. Like, it was such a crazy scene all around, and when the bus is just going down and Awkwafina has to take over, it's like, oh shit, this is serious. But I like what they did, that, and this is one of the things I'm glad it wasn't necessarily like offensive, is that they didn't play on the bad driver. They didn't joke about that at all. She was actually a pretty fantastic driver, especially when earlier they took a BMW out for his joyride, and she's just speeding by everybody, does a perfect like 360 spin or 180 and just goes back. It's like, oh man, she is bad news. This is horrible.
And it was funny that character that we saw in Spider-Man Homecoming make a cameo here, where he was like recording the fight scene. Like, all right, guys, and I did take a little bit of martial arts when I was young, and I'm gonna rate this fight as we go. I thought he was a great little comedic beat with that guy, bringing him back from do a flip, Spider-Man.
It's like, all right, Spider-Man, do a flip, and he does it. It's like, all right, we got it. Oh man, he just went from Queens all the way back to San Francisco. You know, just complete change. So That was cool. They brought him in there, and then I just like Aquafina's response when he's like, I gotta go. My sister's in China. Like, I have to go see her because they'll be after her too.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay, well, you explain on the plane. What? You can go. You can explain on the plane, Sean. Just like their chemistry was one of those things. Like, I'm glad they're best friends, but I also wouldn't mind it if they're kind of like the Pepper Potts, Tony Stark. I think that I kind of got that vibe from this movie. I don't know how you felt, but
Yeah.
like whereas like in the first movie there was some chemistry and some a little more like tension, like sexual tension between them.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was just more of like we're best friends, but it could get to that point. They just never thought of it that way. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I think either way, Simu Liu and Aquafina have really great chemistry. So if their characters stay platonic, that's good. And if they, have a little bit more romantic relationship, I'm all for that too. Like, they're just so fun to watch together. And then, their whole banter on the plane where he's telling her his real name, Shang, not Sean. Like, you changed your name from Sean to Shang, like Shang to Sean, like it's like why?
It's like, where's your logic, man? Like,
no wonder your dad found you.
Yeah, like no wonder it was so easy your dad to find you. Like where's your logic? You went from Shang to Sean. That's like saying your name is Michael, so I'm gonna go on hiding as Michael,
mm-hmm.
or
Gina and Gina.
I'm Gina. Now I'm hiding as Gina, and he's just like I'm not dealing with this. But his little like backstory on like his growing up where. They seemed happy with the mom, but after she died, Wenwu just went completely back into Mandarin stats with the rings. And dude, the training as like his younger self went through is just, oh man, so cool, but so harsh looking at it because he was getting beat. He was getting hit with sticks everywhere, like really testing his like pain and pain receptor and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like no wonder you're a little like. You don't want to face the truth that much, or you're so outgoing because you had such a rough childhood. So
yeah, and
that's pretty cool.
And I thought the use of the flashbacks were really well done, and I think we should just talk about all of them now because essentially it's the same flashbacks that we keep coming back to and get a little bit more information every time we go along. But like you said, essentially after some years. Living, together, Wenwu and Li, and raising this family, he gave up being this, this conqueror, warlord, this leader of the Ten Rings crime organization. And he settled down and had a family, and it was her death that just broke this whole family apart. Where he reverted back to his old ways and tried to train his son to be this like assassin essentially, and neglected his daughter, Zhai Ling. And which, it once you see like where the characters end up by the end of the movie, like their trajectories were like so well crafted where you understand why they went into the directions they went to because of the way Wenwu raised them. Where he gave all of his attention to his son and neglected his daughter. Now she wants to, build up her own organization to kind of like get that respect and get that affection that she didn't get as a daughter. With Shang-Chi, him wanting to be nothing like him because he saw what all of his dad's attention did to him and made him into a killer, essentially. And I thought that was really, again, the family drama in here was so well done. And it's something that easily could have been like brushed off or, not given as much focus. But I thought, Destin Daniel Cretton and the writers did such a good job of interweaving that into everything and having that inform all the characters as they go forward in this story.
Yeah, that was very well put about the flashbacks. None of them felt out of the ordinary. None of them felt like not unnecessary. They played it off really well, especially seeing the mom fight off this gang that wanted vengeance for what Wenwu did to them, and then right after we see Wenwu take his continued vengeance upon them, and that was the best flashback.
An amazing scene.
Because I thought him in the beginning, like taking like him in his warrior days was crazy, but seeing him take it out on those dudes in that little underground gambling ring, just oh my god, he makes the Godfather look like a pansy. Just
brutal.
Totally messes these dudes up, and right in front of this kid, just crushes one with his rings. Like oh shit, like. Oh man, no wonder the son was just like, yeah, I'll help you. Like, it's kind of like not only doesn't want to. He wants that his dad to be there for him. It was just like I'd rather be on this side than that one, kind of. So,
And
that
then,
was just such a great, just again, yeah, perfect use of the flashbacks this time. None of them felt like out of place for me.
and I thought it was an interesting way to frame Shang-Chi as a character, because what we usually get from like the hero is that, you know, they're, whenever they're like father or, you know, someone like they're close to like someone who's a villain, they given a task and they don't go through with it, right? But here, you know, Shang-Chi, he lets, you know, Aquafina know at the end of the movie that when he was tasked to go, you know, assassinate one of his mother's killers, he did go through with it. So that's just such an interesting like layer for the character of like why he ran away for you know, the better part of 10 years, and why he's done so much to try to erase that part of his life from himself, because he's ashamed of what he had become, and, you know, in the process of trying to like live up to his father's expectations. And again, it makes this character so interesting. And, you know, I think you know, the character of Shang-Chi can maybe kind of get lost within, you know, just this grand epicness of this movie, but he's such a great core of a character, the entry point into this world. And again, Simu Liu did such a good job of portraying him.
Yeah, just fantastic acting by him. And you know, when we get to after the little plane ride back now, like I think we're done with the flashbacks. So
Yeah,
back to so they do arrive in Macau, and you know, he finds out that his sister's at this fight ring, which I thought was really funny, just because Tony Chung, I can't say his name, but that one comedian, he's there, and
Yeah.
I love the response where he's just speaking I think Mandarin to them or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and she's like, and off is like, oh, my Chinese not so good. Oh, that's fine. I speak ABC. It's like, oh my god,
Yeah, like
ABC.
just like, you know, the American-born Chinese, or just, you know, English. Like it's a nice little double entendre.
Uh-huh. So, and then as they're walking through, seeing all the fights and stuff, one of the coolest Easter eggs, or a couple, was like the last block before you see the grand stage of it all, was we got to see a glimpse of, I think, an Extremis soldier from Iron Man 3 fighting a widow from the most recent Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
Because it was like a girl clad in black, and Twitter actually, like Marvel's Twitter confirmed, this is a widow. She was fighting at the, you know, that compound, the Golden Daggers Club. So that was great. And we got to see the Abomination from
The Incredible,
Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk, and Wong from Doctor Strange. Like, Wong is just such an interesting person.
Yes, he's very
everywhere
interesting.
but nowhere.
This man is an enigma, and I need to know more about him now. Disney Plus, make a series completely focused on him, because I want 10 hours with this guy to see what he does when he's not messing around with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, like he's either guarding a sanctum or he's just duking out in a club with Abomination.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how he knew Emil Blonsky or why he's there, but he was having fun. Just like after he wins the fight, he's just like, ah. Like, and then it turns out like, oh, Emil, like you got to pull your punches, man. Like that's how you. Like you did this.
Yeah, like you hurt yourself. Like they're fixing fights or something. Like, oh my gosh, what is going on with these guys? Again, so good. And Benedict Wong does such a great job of playing Wong.
And I liked Aquafina and Tony Chung, who are both also castmates in Crazy Rich Asians, and their chemistry a little bit is like, oh yeah, everybody, like I always bet on Asian. It's like, oh, what's our cut? Oh, it's huge, especially if he wins. It's like, okay, like, you got this. Don't be nervous. Like she's already planning on taking bets on him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he comes onto the ring, because the guy's like, take your shirt off. It's just like, what? She's like, oh,
like, where's your shirt? Just
hey, Sean, and he's just like, well, they asked me to take it off, essentially. And his sister, played by how do you say her name?
Manger Zhang.
Manger Zhang, yeah, she just comes out and immediately dominates that fight.
So she's such a badass, dude. Like her whole vibe, everything. Like she's like badass.
Her suit was very kind of reminded me a lot of like the opposite of Bruce Lee's, where it's like kind of form fitting, but instead of yellow and black, it was just black with a little yellow trim. So I really like that I really like that aspect. Like that's just what I was thinking. I'm like, oh my god, this woman could take on everybody. Like even herself is a threat. Like Black Widow, Winter Soldier. None of these fighters in the last MCU that we've seen that are great hand-to-hand combat fighters, none of them could take Shang and his sister Xialing.
Yeah,
like, just no competition. They would easily dominate that fight.
And it's crazy too, because again, like she's self-made. You know, her father didn't train her, so she trained herself, and she's built this whole like underground fighting ring like for on her own too. After she ran away, so it's like this chick is just like She is her father's daughter. No, yeah, her daughter's father. Wait, her father's daughter. Yes. Sorry, I said that right the first time.
Father's daughter, mother's daughter. Just she is. They are both, just perfect children of their parents. Just oh my god, I can't get over it. But then we fast forward to the whole
the scaffold. Yeah.
I just kept thinking of Rush Hour 2.
Yes, me
and
too.
Chris Tucker's response just ah. Oh hell no!
And then when Awkwafina's dangling from the bamboo, I was like, Chinese bamboo is very strong.
That's what I was thinking when I first saw it. I was like, don't worry, Chinese bamboo, it's very strong.
Are you sure?
Are you sure? I'm sure.
I'm sure. Can't believe I flew 10 miles for this shit.
I can't believe I threw 5,000 miles for this shit. Just that was basically her though. Like I have no, like she's like, no, I'm not doing this. Hell no. Like keep me out of this. Oh, it was so great. Just and then actually real quick, I like when after the fight because the sister kicks his ass. She walks in with a stack of cash, just like
like she bet against him.
Did you bet against me? No. Like, yeah, you did. You just her look, like the fanny pack, the bright pants, like her jacket, like she's kind of dressed nice, but she's also very just like, kind of slumming it. It worked well for her. You could totally tell she's like, I'm just along for the ride here. Like I'm supportive in a different way.
But man, that fight was awesome on the scaffolding, and then the fight between him and the death dealer, yes, who was a source of his torture from the past. I thought that was like really well done, and again, really well shot. And then finally, we get the reveal when got them both together because he's taking them back home. And when he takes them to the compound, he gives them the rundown that he's been hearing their mother's voice calling out to him from this gate in Ta Lo, and that he thinks getting there will release her. And I thought, again, this is such an interesting framing for a villain. Like, he's not just a bad guy. Like, this isn't one of those things where he's just, like, looking to conquer again or anything. He's looking to get his family back together. How, as misguided as it is, it's empathetic. You understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, like, he thinks the love of his life is held behind her own people in some sort of gate. And it's like, you would stop at nothing to get her out. Like, he's convinced she's there. And I like their little dinner scene before he tells everything. It was a very, like, Marvel's, like, humility shown where he asks, Katie what her real name is, her Chinese name. And she's, Ray Wen. He's like, funny thing, a few years ago, a terrorist came to me or my organization and needed a boogeyman to take down the U.S. government. And as a matter of fact, he didn't know anything about me or my organization, so you know what name he made up? The Mandarin. He named me after a chicken. Like, I was like, oh man, that's so true when you really think about it. Like, I just love that Tony Leung just, like, played that off so well. Like, yeah, Marvel, you're so stupid for thinking a name like that. But it ended up working. Again, this is another example of, like, how it kills off Asian stereotypes, because it's like, yeah, I know what it is, and that's definitely not me. I went by many names over history, like the Great Khan, the Warrior King, the most dangerous man on earth, but like my name is I'm just Wenwu. And I was like, stay thirsty, my friends, because I just thought of like the most
interesting man. Yes, that's what I thought of too.
So I really like that scene, and again, the cast works so well together, like Awkwafina and the sister together. When they were in her room and she's like, your dad's a whole nother scary. And she's like, just stay quiet, nod your head. He'll forget you're there. That's what he did with me. Like, it's like, oh man, they're so... And Awkwafina was just such a great, like, female character supporting other women, because technically Meng'er Zhang's character started an underground black market fight club in the middle of Macau when she was 16, and she's like, good for you. Like, I respect that. And she's just kind of like, I like you too. Like, you're really cool. Yeah,
like if my dad wouldn't let me be part of his organization, I'd build my own. Just, yeah. All right, girl.
I just like when she's like, oh, hey, you're such a badass. And I like your pets. Oh, thank you. Thank you. She plays off the embarrassed, like, just, like, humble person
just
so
a goofy personality. Yeah, just so good. But, I mean, she wasn't the only comedic relief of the movie, as we come to find out later in this scene when they get locked in the dungeon and we are reintroduced to Trevor Slattery, Sir Ben Kingsley, the man himself.
Yeah, which again, if you guys remember why this is such an Iron Man 3 thing, is because Iron Man's been the only real character been tied to the 10 rings from Iron Man 1. But Iron Man 3, we're more exposed to it in the Mandarin character. And Trevor Slattery, again, also pointed out, like, he admitted that, oh, yes, like, I played a terrorist, I know, but leaner times. And now, and I look back and I'm like, oh my god, that was a horrible portrait of your father. Like, and he basically referenced All Hail the King short film that came out after Iron Man 3, which was basically just finding out that you're being taken by the real Mandarin. So after that, it's like, oh, you kind of assume he's dead, or I don't know. But now we find out he's been held captive for God knows how many years.
He's been given the Tug Speedman treatment. It seems like
just lost his mind.
Just being the source of entertainment, I guess. Him and his acting. I guess he's just the jester for Wenwu.
And looking, and then all of a sudden, this weird creature, this giant fluff ball with weird, cool,
little chicken wings.
Yeah. It just comes out, it's like, oh, what is that? Holy shit! Just, you can see him. Yeah, what is it? Just, oh my God, Morris, you're real. It's like, Morris? He's just like, oh my God. It's like, so,
I thought I imagined him. Such a great line.
And then he's understanding with his little noise, like, it's almost like a little animal version of Cousin It. And he's just like, of course. This is the only reason I stay sane. It's like, are you serious, Trevor?
Are you sure?
And, we find out, oh yeah, Morris is from Talo. He grew up with his mom. So
he knows the way.
Wenwu kind of also kept him as just like a piece of evidence. Like, yeah, Talo's real. I need to get there now.
Through this, like, again, we didn't mention it, but this forest maze that completely shifts on itself, and it like you need to know the path to enter it, otherwise the forest will crush you and eat you, which I thought was a really cool thing.
Yeah, very much like Harry Potter, Goblet of Fire, that little maze they went through.
Yeah.
Where the bushes would close it on. But this was horrifying. Bamboo would literally just crush you and throw you somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and, when they break out of the compound, just because, Jia Ling, she was able to get out when she was a kid. And that was a cool little car scene, too. Just Awkwafina's driving with Simu Liu and, Menger Zhang's fighting inside the back seat. We find out that's just like Trevor Slattery's like, I found myself, and when I was a kid, I discovered my passion, watching Planet of the Apes in 1968. I asked my mom, how did they get those monkeys to do that? And she's like, oh, it's acting. And it's like, I knew that acting was able to get those apes to do all those things. Like, I was like, wait, what? And he's like, yes, if I could, imagine what I could do of what those apes can do. So you decided to become an actor because you thought that the apes were riding on horses.
Yes, but then I realized they were just acting, which I still have to wrap my head around. Like, dude, they were men in suits. He's just such an idiot.
It was like Michael Keaton. The other guys just, I think you missed the point. Anyways.
But then that whole scene of after that with them like being led through the forest by Morris and Trevor just interpreting for him, I thought that was like really fun. And we finally get to Ta Lo, which was like much like how they've done with Asgard and how they've done with Wakanda, just a fully realized new corner of the Marvel universe that I thought was so well done. And once we get there, we see all these different creatures and the people there like have their whole like society and their own their dragon scale like staffs. I thought it was just so cool.
Yeah, it was very interesting what they did. It's essentially, I'm curious, what part of the 9 realms is this? Or is this a realm altogether that's just unheard of from everybody? Like, is this older than Asgard? Like, I don't know. It was just one of those things I just was like trying to wrap my head around, like, in what part of the realms are you guys in? Because they did acknowledge that, oh yeah, your realm, this realm, like, So I thought that was interesting. And then Michelle Yeoh's character, we find out, is actually the mom's sister. And she's like, welcome home, like, you guys are my family too. And it was like, damn it, it's a touching moment. And Ogwe's just like, I'm Katie. It's like, oh, welcome, Katie. Just, oh, okay. Like, she was, again, just, like, not expecting any of this, like, being nice to. And the Talo is just such a cool place where
really
the women
cool.
trained alongside the men. They all had this, style of kung fu, like gods, like a martial arts for the gods essentially, where they can control wind. They had those dragon scale weapons where they didn't look sharp or anything. Some of them didn't, but they could still cut through stone. They were just crazy cool. And we saw an actor from Kung Fu Hustle, which is another, like, a movie that was referenced earlier, where you see like how we were talking about the 10 Rings, and he had a movie poster in his like studio apartment.
Yeah.
So that was really cool that the landlord's husband was there as Guangbo, and he was just. I was just expecting him just get, just beat up by a woman or just get away from me. And I didn't realize it got that old, though. I was like, oh, man.
Oh, I know.
Has it been that long since Kung Fu? I guess Kung Fu also did come out like 2003, 2005 or something along those years. So I was like, man. He still looked good, though. But I was just like, damn, he got old from that movie. Like, still recognizable, though, which is cool. But anyways. I like that we find out that it's not, the mom isn't alive. It was the 10 Rings being manipulated by, the Dark Dweller, or whatever they called it, the thing from the darkness. I forgot what the specific name of it was, which was basically just, we'll talk about what that looked like in a second. That was actually legitly horrifying.
Yeah. But like how she like Michelle Yeoh breaks down like the whole history of Ta Lo, about the great protector, the dragon that pushed back all these the different what were they, I forgot what they called, like death
soul seekers
back into like the mountain of this cave. And again, like that's what turns out to be what was whispering to Wenwu, trying to get him to release it, because they realized that the 10 Rings of power are enough to break down this ancient mystical fortress that they created for them. That whole backstory with the wood carvings and everything, that was so cool.
Very well done. And I think this last third of the film, like the climax leading into the closing act, was Simulu's best performance, like emotionally, just because his training with his auntie Michelle Yeoh's character, just like, you're the only one who could beat him, and she told him like how he has his fists and like a very aggressive thing. She's just opened him up, like symbolizing, relax, like open up, don't. You're using what your father used. Why don't you try what your mother tried to teach you? And just a much more passive, very much more flowing like martial arts. And he's just looking inside himself like, man, my dad, he's just like, he started blaming him. He's like, I'm gonna do what my dad trained me to do. I'm gonna kill him. Like, I'm done. Like, he's just kind of giving up on. He just doesn't know. He's so confused, and he portrayed that beautifully. Like, trying to be a good man, knowing what he can do and what he has done, and he's just not finding like that peace inside of him. And when Wenwu and them come and they're all fighting out against each other. Also, real quick before I go, it just caught my mind, the creature design for the monsters, the animals that lived in Ta Lo, like those giant those like Chinese like dragon dog things.
Yeah.
Like, those two big ones, like the brown one and the white one. I was like, oh shit, that looks cool. Like, it looked like it'd be a really cool monster. And, the dragon horses, the 9-tailed fox was really neat to look at. It was just... But anyways, when they're fighting together and Wenwu and him are kind of having the upper hand on each other, it was such great acting within the fighting. And even though the CGI was lacking a little bit, like when they were fighting like around the water and stuff, that's why I was like, this isn't the best visuals, but again, better than what we've seen when it comes to some movies and stuff, like near the end.
Yeah. So, I know I've complained in the past about, when it comes to the third acts of Marvel movies. I mean, like in blockbusters in general, but in particular Marvel movies, since, we're talking about a Marvel movie, where they have a tendency to, devolve into what essentially is just a big CGI, like, bombastic, overblown fest where, that was one of the big issues for me, with the Black Widow movie that came out earlier this year. And it's one of the things that I didn't like as much about the Black Panther movie, where I thought everything was strong up until the third act, where, again, the CGI just kind of brings it down and you're just distracted by it. For me, personally, in this movie, it worked a little bit better just because of, I guess, how it weaved into the narrative and how... Again, we're in this mystical land now, and we're basically in a fantasy movie now, which, again, I thought the movie, like, did a solid job of getting you to this point without it feeling, for me, like out of left field, where where we go from like a bus fight, you know, a scene in like in a bus, into now like in this mystical land of Ta Lo where there's dragons and you know these like soul suckers, you know, like fighting each other. It's like once we got to this point, I was like fully invested, and I think that's also a testament to how strong you know the family drama was, where I was so invested in their story. Where now that we've in this CGI like a big battle, I was still not taken out of it, you know.
Absolutely, yeah. This movie was so strong overall. It cemented the third act, and like you kind of knew what was coming. And I didn't think about the CGI at all. It was just that one part where he's really laying into his dad, like, "Is this what you wanted?" I just thought, "Oh, this is a little weak CGI," but that's not the point for this movie. Like everything else outweighed that for me.
Yeah,
and you can't say that about every Marvel movie, so I'm really happy with that. And the dragon part was so scary but so cool because it's like the Great Protector, but just seeing him in the water and seeing all the air bubbles come, I was like, holy shit, what are we going to look at right now? And then how it just swarms up right in front of him. That's just like, that's something right out of like a horror movie or like Deep Blue Sea or something. You're just right in the face of a creature. It's like, oh shit. Like, but again, it was so cool the dragon came out. Beautiful dragon too. Easily one of the coolest ones I've seen in forever. Like beautifully like colored, designed, everything. The way it flew in the air was just an art of itself. And then when they finally get to the fight, like when he's fighting next to the gate with his dad, and he takes control of the Ten Rings, that was so cool.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So hype.
So one of the best fights. They're just he's like they're and the scene from the trailer in that where they're just tugging at the Ten Rings is perfect economy. Like it's funny because blue, like in a lot of movies, blue is usually like a more like a good guy color, and like red or orange is more negative. This time you definitely got the vibe. Like the blue was cold and harsh, where the orange that you know Shang-Chi had with the rings was much warm and giving, like loving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a more peaceful color.
Yeah, and then they had established that when in the fight at the very beginning, where between you know his mom and his dad, where when she was able to manipulate the rings, they turned into that goldish color, and so you know them bringing that back, and you know him implementing his mother's you know fighting form to defeat you know his dad. I thought that was all really well done. Again, storytelling through in action sequences. Like we got everything in just like looks and like just a few lines here and there, but everything was told through the action. And again, that's why this is some of the best action we've seen in the Marvel movies and in blockbuster movies in general. And just again, Tony Leung's performance in this whole sequence of, you know, they say that this man has so much expression in his face and in his eyes, and nowhere in the movie does it show more than in this like final act where, you know, he's like looking at his son and what is like his son has become in spite of him, you know, in spite of like what he's tried to do to him and what like lessons he's tried to impart on him, where he like sees that, oh, you know, my son is everything I ever wanted him to be and more. You know, that whole character drama was just so well drawn out. And then you know once that giant like death
that
thing,
dude, that Cthulhu thing.
Yes.
That's basically what it was. Like no face, all these creatures, very Cthulhu inspired, and then with all the tails and like it's like bat-like face where it's like fur but then skin and teeth.
Yeah, one of the
that was legit.
grossest looking creatures. Oh my god.
The part that legitly scared me was just when he first emerged, because you hear the mom's voice go, "Let me out." And it's like, I'm sorry. And they all could hear it. It wasn't just in his head. Just, it gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Yeah. I was just like, this is, like, guys, great job on actually creating a scary character. Like, this is fantastic. Like, 5 stars for that, too. Just, oh, my God.
Yeah, so...
First Marvel movie where I was actually, I mean, besides, like, Thanos and stuff, where I was actually scared of this character, this creature.
Yeah, like straight up, the design on that thing was gruesome as hell, and you know once it tries to attack them, and Wenwu you know sacrifices himself to save his son, and nothing is said, you know, like when he's having his soul sucked out of his body, all he's doing is looking at his son, and there's so much said in that one look that he gives to him, like where you see that you know he's sorry and he's proud, and there's like he like. Again, just the acting from Tony Leung, like it just said so much in that scene, and that's why like he's one of my favorite characters, because it's like you know he's gone to this point out of just you know being misguided and having this this you know warlord get a chance to like live a happy life and that's what he's been trying to fight back for, to repair his family. It's so interesting and so well, like I said, textured. Like there's so many layers to it, and again, the performance by Tony Leung here, like it was one of the best death scenes that I've seen in a Marvel movie. Where I always get sad when when they kill off a villain after the first movie, but the what happened here was just so beautiful, and I was like, man, I couldn't have asked for anything more.
Yeah, like I was still bummed he's gone, but it was it was the perfect like cathartic moment for them, just because they're just staring at each other like, I'm watching my father die. It very much reminded me of, again, like Eric Bana's Hulk. I don't know why that movie's just been stuck in my head lately, but I feel like movies are kind of reaching back, because that movie had a lot of emotional beats to it, especially in the end after like Eric Bana killed his dad, essentially just from like the old explosion thing they had. But he has that one memory of like just kissing his dad goodnight, and he's like, I love you, son. It was very much like that, where it's like, even though he was hard on him, he still loved his family. Like that was never in doubt. It was just, he was just blinded by his own power and his own ambition, and the love of his wife. So it was very, very heartbreaking, but so well done, especially when he passes him the rings, like, these are yours now, like you earned these, and take care of them.
And you will use these way better than I ever could, essentially.
Yeah, and oh man, the whole scene again, just them fighting off the soul suckers, trying to defeat the giant one, was so crazy, so well done. Like there were a couple moments I'm like, holy shit, this may not work. But then it's like, no, Marvel, you flip it. Like Aquafina has that ace shot in the throat, and just holy shit, like I made it. And dude, Simu Liu had the coolest kill of all, where he just uses those rings as a freaking, like, I like how Aquafina put it, like a Kamehameha move.
Yeah, Kamehameha fireball from the sky.
Yeah, because like how the rings went in hit the dragon, and he's just like spinning like around, and it's like, oh shit, that's cool. And with his arm, like changing his arms.
Yeah, like he has like his closed fist and then the open palm on one side, showing the yin and yang, essentially, his mother and his father, like both forms, like just using that to like destroy this like unkillable creature. It's just, man, dude, like this is like one of the moments in the movie where I legit was like so close to just be like, yeah. It's like I never like ever rarely get that like feeling in the movie theater, because I'm like, when people react, I'm like, okay, calm down. But legit here, I was gonna be the one to be like, yes, like this was so hype.
This is like an end game moment, to be honest. Like right when you hear Falcon go, on your left, Cap, it was just like, yeah. Like it was almost to that level of excitement I had. So, oh man, the ending was, again, it kind of brought back down like the real heavy stuff of the drama, where all these people died from their souls literally being taken from them. And they're just back at the bar in San Francisco telling their story to their friends. Like, are you guys done mocking me? It's like, what? Like, so you expect me to believe this? All this stuff that just happened? It's like, why would we lie to you? And then you see the time thing, like the portal just open up, and Wong's just, Shang-Chi, do you have the rings?
Yeah, present.
Yeah, just here, present. And then he's like, okay, come on, we got work to do. He takes the friend's ring, just, oh, good stuff.
Yeah,
let's go.
I'll Venmo you. I was like, oh wow.
And the post and mid-credit scenes were pretty great. I don't think I was this is the first time in a while like credit and mid-credits did not disappoint me.
Yeah, and like a lot of the times where these Marvel movies come out, and we get the reactions online, or reviews on YouTube and stuff, where people say you gotta stay for the end credits. They're like, awesome, and they happen, and most of the time I'm like, they were good, like they're fine. These legit were like, dude, holy shit, like this is crazy. Like these are some of my favorite for sure.
Yeah, like Black Widows, I did like, just because it just had one credit scene, right? Just the one at the gravesite, right?
That's the one I remember. I'm pretty sure there's probably like a mid credit at some point too. Well, I think, was it the mid credit where she went and got the plane where she had the blonde hair?
No, that was just the end.
Oh yeah, you see? Well, then I don't remember.
So I think there was only one credit scene. That was good though, when Yelena goes to the grave scene. But these two they play perfectly into the next movies, where I like they're back at the library and Kamartaj, and Bruce is back to normal.
Bruce, yes,
sling.
Bruce.
Not Smart Hulk, just Bruce. And Captain Marvel, she has she's growing her hair out again in her Endgame suit, and they're just like, this metal is not unlike anything. It's like Chitauri, like, as it's not vibranium. She's like, I have no idea, but it's older than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're just trying to figure it out, and I like that there's like a little beeping thing with inside the rings.
Yeah, like it's sending a beacon, like it's a signal for something.
To what? And they're like, I don't know, like, but I gotta go. Get my number from Bruce. I'll be back. Like, nice to meet you guys. And he's like, I don't have her number, but welcome to the circus, guys. Like, stay safe. And Wong just perfectly finishing off, like, you guys have stepped into something much larger than yourselves. Like Tony's, this was like the new Iron Man for the future Marvel movies.
Exactly.
He is the new center stone for the next generation of heroes. And it's just like, you guys should get some rest, because after today, it's gonna be tough. Mm-hmm. You guys are in for a long journey. And they're like, yeah, we should get some rest. And Awkwafina's just, her face is so perfect. Like, I get, and then, welcome to the hotel.
Yeah, the three of them.
Mike Wong is there. Like,
just having a karaoke night. Perfect ending.
Such a great, like, where it was both serious, playing into the future, and also just a good fun time, just to kind of bring some humor into it. And then the post-credit scene was when we see the sister, where she's supposed to be back at the father's compound in Asia somewhere, or part of Europe, I forgot what, but she's supposed to be taking down operations of the Ten Rings, and we come to find out she's reinvented them for herself. Like, the place is newly painted, like, much edgier, artsy, like, just very, like, pro-feminine kind of compound where women are training alongside men. Like, it's a much more, like, criminal operation from the looks of it compared to what her father had. So that was really cool. And then it ends with the Ten Rings will return. Yeah. I was like, oh, man. It's kind of a double entendre.
Yes.
Like, her as the Ten Rings, and then physically Shang-Chi's Ten Rings will return. It's like, okay, I'm down. Either way, I kind of want a show of the Ten Rings now, just to see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm curious if she'll pop up in some point, or like in some form or another, like in Armor Wars, or I wonder if she'll come in conflict with like Sharon Carter now. With her, her being the power broker, and now Zhai Ling being the leader of the Ten Rings. Them like coming ahead or something. Either way, like, I'm excited to see where these characters go. And again, like I said earlier, where these two, people end up, Shang-Chi being an Avenger and Zhai Ling being the new leader of this criminal organization, their character trajectories were so well fleshed out. And again, we saw that through the family drama and how Wenwu had this tremendous effect on them. Again, so well done. I can't sing its praises enough.
I can't either, but I think we've spoken enough about this movie. Ladies and gentlemen, again, if you stuck through us with this whole spoiler episode, you guys need to watch this. This is a movie I've seen twice already. I'm gonna go see it again.
I might go see it right now.
I mean, I definitely would. I would, as long as it's an IMAX, I'm gonna go see it again because it was that good.
So good.
And again, we're contributing to this movie's success, so we're ensuring Eternals and Spider-Man will come out in theaters. So, hint, hint. But all right, my brother. Everybody, stay bodacious. Keep on renting, and please stay safe. For you, your loved ones, everybody, and for us too. Yeah. And Bern, I'll talk to you later, my brother.
All right, man. I will see you on the next one, my friend.
Deuces.